Have you ever wondered, what if Eden wasn't just a garden? What if it was the home of two intertwined families, one divine, one human, living side by side under God's rule? Welcome to the Households of God, Part 2 of the Unseen Realm, where ancient scripture reveals a world far bigger than most of us ever imagined. Before humans existed, God already had a family, a divine council of spiritual beings called Elohim. They are not gods equal to Yahweh, but created members of his heavenly household. Psalm 82 shows this clearly. God stands in the divine assembly. He judges among the gods. This wasn't mythology. To the ancient Hebrew, this was divine administration. God as the Most High King and the sons of God as his royal staff. They weren't independent deities. They were his heavenly family, his council. Yahweh didn't need help, but he chose to share his rule because love always chooses partnership. Then God decided to create another family, humanity. Genesis 1 tells us, "Let us make humankind in our image." That "us" echoes the divine council, not a royal we, but God speaking to his heavenly household, yet only he creates. When God formed Adam and Eve, he made them his imagers, his representatives on earth. To be made in God's image wasn't about physical form or intelligence. It was a vocation to mirror his authority, creativity, and love in creation. Humanity was invited into divine partnership to bring earth into harmony with heaven. In Eden, heaven literally touched earth. The realms were one. In the Bible, God's dwelling is often described as a mountain. Eden, Sinai, and Zion all reflect this image. That's because mountains were seen as bridges between realms where heaven met earth. Eden was more than paradise. Ezekiel 28 calls it the seat of the gods. It was the headquarters of divine rule, a sacred meeting place where God, his council, and humanity worked together. Imagine it, God's heavenly sons ruling from above and his human children ruling below, united in mission. The two households were meant to operate in tandem, like two halves of one divine family. But God's plan came with a risk. He gave both divine and human imagers free will. True love, true representation requires the power to choose, and both families would fall. A divine being, a throne guardian, grew proud and rebelled, trying to elevate himself above the Most High. This celestial rebellion would soon echo on earth when humans too chose autonomy over obedience. The result? Eden lost, the realms torn apart. What had once been one household was now divided, heaven and earth estranged. Yet God's story didn't end there. He would not abandon his family. Even after the fall, God continued working through his imagers. He didn't revoke their calling, he redeemed it. Through Moses, he led his people. Through David, he established a kingdom. Through prophets, he declared his will. And through Jesus, the unique Son, the monogenes, he restored the connection between heaven and earth. Jesus is the ultimate image bearer, the perfect reflection of the invisible God. In him, humanity's original purpose was renewed to become God's family once again. Heiser describes heaven and earth as separate but connected realms, two households moving toward a shared destiny. From Eden to Revelation, the pattern repeats. God's presence descends, humanity is invited to partner, and the divine family joins in the mission. One day, the boundary will dissolve again. Heaven will fully unite with earth. The households of God, divine and human, will finally dwell together as one. The story of the Bible isn't just about human salvation, it's about family restoration, the reunion of two realms that were always meant to be one. You are not just saved to escape earth, you are called to reclaim it, to once again image God side by side with his heavenly family. This is the vision of the households of God, a vision that began in Eden and will end where heaven and earth finally meet again. Last time, we saw how heaven and earth once formed a single divine household. God shared his rule with both his heavenly sons, the Elohim, and his human imagers. But this beautiful harmony didn't last. The Bible tells not just one rebellion, but three, each one tearing the cosmic family further apart. Before Eden fell, something happened in the unseen realm. Ezekiel 28 speaks of a guardian cherub in the garden of God, perfect in beauty, full of wisdom, until wickedness was found in him. Isaiah 14 calls him the Shining One, who said in his heart, I will ascend to heaven. I will set my throne above the stars of God. Heiser explains, this isn't about a human king. It's a glimpse into a heavenly rebellion, one of God's divine sons desiring independence, not service. This being wasn't content to reflect God's image. He wanted to be God. And so the first fracture in the cosmic household began, a rebellion born in heaven, soon to echo on earth. Genesis 3 tells the familiar story, but seen through ancient eyes, it's more than moral failure. The serpent wasn't a talking animal. In Hebrew, the word Nachash means shining one, a divine being, radiant and intelligent. He tempts humanity with the same desire that destroyed him. You will be like God. Adam and Eve were already like God, his imagers, his children, but the lie was about independence. It was the illusion that we could define good and evil without the Creator. When humanity fell, we didn't just break a rule, we broke the link between heaven and earth. Eden, God's dwelling with his two families, was lost. But the story darkens even further. Genesis 6 speaks of the sons of God who saw that the daughters of men were beautiful and took them as wives. From this union came the Nephilim, giants, violent rulers who corrupted the earth. Ancient Jewish texts like 1 Enoch describe these beings as watchers, divine rebels who crossed forbidden lines, teaching forbidden knowledge and birthing chaos among humans. To modern readers, this sounds mythic, but to the biblical authors, it was deadly serious. This rebellion blurred the boundary between realms. It brought corruption, idolatry, and bloodshed, and led to the flood, a reset for creation. Yet even after the waters receded, rebellion wasn't done. After the flood, humanity multiplied again and united under one ambition. Let us build a tower to the heavens. At Babel, mankind sought to reclaim heaven without God. God responded not just by confusing languages, but by dividing the nations among the sons of God. As Deuteronomy 32, 8-9 reveals, when the Most High divided the nations, he fixed their boundaries according to the number of the sons of God. But the Lord's portion is his people, Jacob, his inheritance. This moment was pivotal. Humanity was scattered, and so were the divine rulers. The world's nations came under the governance of lesser Elohim, but many of them, instead of guiding humanity, turned corrupt, seeking worship for themselves. This is where the gods of the nations arise, not fantasy, but fallen administrators of the unseen realm. With the world in rebellion, God began his rescue plan, not by reclaiming every nation at once, but by starting a new one. He called Abram out of Ur and promised, I will bless you, and through you all nations will be blessed. While other nations followed corrupt spiritual powers, Yahweh would create his own family, a holy nation, Israel, through which he would one day reclaim the world. Heiser calls this the cosmic geography of Scripture, a world divided under false gods and one nation chosen to reveal the true God again. Now the pattern is clear. 3 rebellions, 1 story. In heaven, a divine son rejects God's rule. On earth, humanity joins the revolt. And across the nations, spiritual and human powers alike corrupt creation. The world becomes a fractured mosaic of divine and human disloyalty. But even in judgment, God's plan moves forward, a plan to restore both realms through one promised seed. Eden's rebellion began with pride, but it ends with a promise. Out of the ruins of divine failure and human sin, God begins a new story, one that will lead to Abraham, to Israel, and ultimately to a Messiah who will reclaim the nations. This is how heaven's rebellion sets the stage for redemption. Because God's family may fall, but He will never stop bringing them home. Like, comment, follow,